In 2014, one drop of blood was worth $9 billion. The machine that would test it sat in a locked lab in California. Investors had seen it. Generals had endorsed it. Pharmacies had installed it. There was just one problem. It had never worked. Not once. Take a seat. This meeting has one item on the agenda. How a 19-year-old college dropout convinced the smartest money in America that she had changed medicine forever. With a box that was empty. The minutes of this meeting run 12 minutes. I suggest you stay for the vote at the end. Elizabeth Holmes was 19 when she dropped out of Stanford in 2003. She had an idea that sounded like science fiction. One drop of blood from a fingertip. 200 tests. No needles. No labs. No waiting. She named the company Theranos. Here is what made Elizabeth different from 1,000 other dropouts with a pitch deck. She did not sell a product. She sold a story. And she understood something most founders never learn. Investors do not buy machines. They buy belief. She lowered her voice an octave in meetings. She wore the same black turtleneck every day, like Steve Jobs. She filled her board not with scientists, but with statesmen. Henry Kissinger, George Shultz, 2 former secretaries of state, a future Secretary of Defense, General James Mattis, the most credentialed board in startup history. Count the doctors on that board. 0. The money followed the names. Rupert Murdoch invested $125 million. By 2014, Theranos was valued at $9 billion. Elizabeth Holmes owned half. Forbes put her on the cover. The youngest self-made female billionaire in history. And in 2013, the story became a contract. Walgreens, one of America's largest pharmacy chains, rolled out Theranos wellness centers in 40 stores. Which was a problem. Because inside the locked labs of Theranos, the miracle machine, the Edison, could run about a dozen test types. Poorly. Not 200. Every fraud has a room where the truth lives. At Theranos, that room was the lab. And the people inside it kept quitting. The Edison machines failed quality control so often that employees called the results a coin flip. So Theranos did something breathtaking. They bought commercial blood analyzers, machines made by Siemens, the very technology they claimed to have made obsolete, and ran the majority of patient samples on those instead. Behind the curtain, the revolution was a Siemens machine and a diluted blood sample. Diluted. Because fingertip drops were too small for commercial machines, Theranos watered samples down below validated ranges. Patients got results no one should have trusted. A woman was told she was miscarrying when she was not. Patients got false HIV indicators. Potassium results so high the patient should have been dead. In this building, we call that a material risk. The people who knew began to break. Ian Gibbons, chief scientist, 8 years at Theranos, told his wife none of it worked. Subpoenaed to testify in 2013, facing the choice between perjury and Elizabeth. He took his own life. Theranos' response to his widow was a demand for the return of confidential documents. Then came Tyler Schultz, 20-something researcher, grandson of George Schultz, the board member. He saw the failed validations from inside and wrote to Elizabeth under a fake name. The response came from the other power in the building. Sunny Balwani, president, 20 years Elizabeth Sr., and secretly her boyfriend. The board did not know. Tyler was threatened by lawyers, surveilled, pressured by his own grandfather. He spent over $400,000 of his family's money on legal fees. And he talked anyway, to a Wall Street Journal reporter named John Carreyrou. October 15, 2015. The Journal publishes. Theranos runs almost none of its tests on its own machines. Holmes goes on television the next day. This is what happens when you work to change things. First they think you're crazy, then they fight you, and then all of a sudden you change the world. Then the regulators walked in. CMS inspected the labs and found deficiencies that posed, quote, immediate jeopardy to patient health and safety. Theranos voided 2 years of blood test results. Every Edison result from 2014 and 2015. Walgreens walked away. Investors sued. The SEC charged Holmes and Balwani with massive fraud in 2018. Holmes settled, surrendered control, and was banned from running a public company for 10 years. The company that was worth $9 billion dissolved in September 2018. Investor recovery. Effectively zero. The criminal trial came in 2021. The defense said failure is not a crime. And that is true. The jury looked at fake demonstrations, forged validation reports bearing Pfizer's logo without Pfizer's permission, and revenue projections of $100 million in a year. The company made about $100,000. And decided this was not failure. This was fraud. Elizabeth Holmes, guilty on 4 counts. 11 years, 3 months. Sunny Balwani, guilty on all 12. 12 years, 11 months. The youngest self-made female billionaire became an inmate in a Texas federal prison camp. The black turtleneck went back to being just a sweater. Minutes recorded. Before we adjourn, one question for the room, and do leave your answer in the comments. Every investor who lost money saw the same empty box. Kissinger, Murdoch, Walgreens. None of them demanded audited lab data before wiring millions. So tell me, was Elizabeth Holmes the only one doing the lying? Or was the room lying to itself? Next meeting. A 30-year-old in shorts loses $8 billion of other people's money in a weekend. FTX. Subscribe. Attendance is taken.